What's up, everybody? My name's Taylor Davis. I'm a realtor here at Atlanta Communities Real Estate, and I have Andre Perry, good friend, mortgage lender with Renasant Bank, with me. We've been hitting a couple of different things today, but we want to do some MythBusters for you guys on the home buying side. Look, we know there's a lot of misconceptions surrounded by home buying, and that's a lot of the reason why we want to do this is to educate our market, our friends and family and different consumers out there. Hey, one of the big ones that I hear is that you need 20% down to buy a home.
Sure.
Is that a myth or is that real?
Sure, and it's a total myth, and I hear that as well on the lending side as well. So it's a total myth. I mean, there are a lot of programs out there, and there are so many programs. There's bound to be one that's going to fit your particular profile. So I mean, we've got 3% down, we've got 3.5% down, and we actually have some for first-time home buyers, some 100% programs that are out there as well, where you've got nothing down. So. But yes, there's always going to be a program for you and for you and your family.
Perfect. I know another one that it kind of speaks to that, but is FHA. Now, I hear that is for a myth potentially.
Sure.
Is that it's just for first-time home buyers?
No.
Now, folks get confused what the A means in that situation if it's first-time home.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They think FHA stands for first-time home buyers.
In my experience, folks see that
and
they think it's first-time homeowner or what have you.
Sure.
So is that a myth, or I guess what is that, a myth that it's just for first-time home buyers?
So no, it's not. So it's a government program. So it is a government program, but it stands for Federal Housing Administration. So it is a government program, and it requires 3.5% down. So that was one of the ones that I did mention, that that is a program that can be used by anybody. It doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer or it doesn't have to be for a first-time home buyer. It could be for anybody.
Sure. Now, what about you, for any myths on the agent side, or that you have, or maybe that you hear in your industry for agents?
Got a good one.
Okay.
That I hear a lot, and it's possibly a misconception, but when people are selling their home, I guess they think that they have to give the agent 3% of the sales price. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a great question. So are you speaking on the listing agent or the agent who is coming to buy home, or that is assisting?
Can you
the
address
buyers?
both?
Yeah, no. So it's a great question, and it's important to discuss. Hey, number one, there is no standard. Commission have always been and will always be negotiable with you, the consumer, and your agent. So there is no set number that every listing has to provide or that they should give. That has always, and can't repeat this enough, has always and will always be a negotiating, something to be negotiated and discussed with you and your agent ahead of time. Now, the industry itself has taken some steps to address this because that's a real thing. A lot of people do hear 3%, or when they think home buying or selling, they think that the agent is, there's a standard there, which that's a very bad word. There is no standard in the industry. Again, negotiable. But there was actually a big lawsuit that was settled, and everything came to a close and went into effect last August. That is a conversation for another day.
Wow.
But in the past, you were able to go onto the FMLS, which is a listing service where homes are available to purchase, where buyers and agents can see. That is a market where homes are listed. You would be able to go and see exactly what each listing was providing to the buyer's agent. Now, the fear was, that number was 3 a lot, but it varied. There's many different numbers that could be. But the theory, and one of the reasons why the lawsuits came up, was that agents would deter buyers from listings that offered less than 3%. Now, I can tell you that it was, not my experience and not something that I would ever do for my clients, but there's an argument that may have been happening. And so now when you go into the MLS, there's actually no listing of compensation, so that buyers agents do not know, what they're going to be getting, if anything at all is being offered by the listing agent or seller. And the listing agent they have their agreement ahead of time, and that number is based per agent, per client, on a home-to-home sort of special basis,
Sure.
according to what they agree on. So that handles the sort of the 3% standard, if you will, that is not a standard that's always negotiated with clients. But then on the buy side, there's actually, I know we're getting a little bit long-winded here, so hopefully we can cut this up.
This is great information.
But on the buy side, you can no longer see as an agent what a listing is offering. And so one of the other things that have come out of the lawsuit is that you must have an agreement, the agent must have an agreement with their buyer that specifically outlines how they're getting paid, how much they're getting paid, and by whom they're getting paid prior to ever touring homes. So that agreement has to be in place, and it's important to know that agreement, it is law now that must be in place prior to touring homes. And that what that does is it protects everybody and also prevents any sort of collusion or any talks of any type of standard or anything like that. Everybody knows how they're getting paid and by whom they're getting paid on the front end, and whether a listing is offering compensation to a buying agent or not is irrelevant. And again, commission both on a buy and sell side are negotiated on a per home, per transaction basis between the agent and their client.
That's awesome. That's great information. You just schooled me, so that's awesome.
No, I know it's long-winded, but there have been a lot of talks around that. Yeah. And so those are important questions to ask your agent. What is their fee? How do they come up with it? What's included in that? Are they offering, if you're on the listing side, are you offering, compensation to buyers agents? What your options are there? It's not so cut and dry. There is no standard. And so these are great questions to have, great conversations to have with an agent.
Sure.
That's a great question, great myth.
Speaking of listings, so is the listing price the final price?
That's a good question. Ideally, you want the listing price to be as close to the sale price as possible. But there is a difference. The list price is the price that it is currently on the market for.
Okay.
When I go onto the MLS and look at a property, the current price is its list price. That's right. Where it's being listed at. Now, the final sales, that's always negotiable. So the final sales price is sometimes different. Like right now in this market specifically, which is Woodstock here, our list to sold price is right at, it's over 98%. So in this market, if there's a $100,000 listing, if it's listed at 100, its final sale price statistically here is in the 98 to 99 range. Mm-hmm. So homes are, as a whole, being priced pretty accurately right now. But There is a clear distinction in where it's listed and what it finally sells for. Right. Two different prices.
Right.
It's a great question.
Good.
Great question.
Yeah. So very interesting. But I hear that a lot as well. Aside.
Yeah. Here's one for you. All lenders are the same. Is that a myth? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, not at all. And it's like saying that every person is the same, right? No. So personally, I am in it for you. I mentioned this before, that this is one of the largest, biggest purchases you can make in a lifetime. So that I'm very passionate about that, to help you along the process and be there for you. So with that said, you're going to get questions answered, the knowledge, and for lack of a better term, the hand-holding all the way through the process. So if you've got questions, you have concerns, I'm going to be there for you. So a good lender is going to be there for you. Once again, knowledgeable, answer your questions, and get you from point A to point Z, which is the initial pre-qualification all the way to the closing table. So no, to answer your question, not all lenders are the same. We tend to the good lenders are going to be there for your client and for the borrower from point A to point Z.
Absolutely. I love that. Any other myths or anything you can think of at the moment that are pressing? Or
the one thing that I'm seeing is, because you're seeing it in the news and the news outlets and social media and everything else, is I don't want to buy because the interest rates are too high or they're rising. That is a myth. So once again, we see that all the time, but really, what are you basing that off of, and what are they really rising from, right? So historically speaking, we are still at the lowest point now than we've been in the past decades. So with that said, if you find the right home and you find exactly what you're looking for, the rates are still relatively good. So I would say go ahead and purchase that home. Go ahead and get that home because rates are constantly moving, and once again, historically, we are in a good spot right now. So go ahead and get that home if you find the right home.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it all depends on the timing for you and your family and what's important to you guys at the time. But, historically, over the last 5 years, again, just speaking to this local market here, Cobb County, Cherokee County, over the last 5 years, there's been a 50%, more than 50% is actually, I think it may be 52 or 53% increase in average home values.
Sure.
So 5 years ago, yes, interest rates were in a completely different place, but had you purchased over the last couple of years, that equity that you've gained,
Absolutely.
far outweighs the, in my opinion, again, if it fits for you, that equity that you're building, for your future outweighs the rent payments and the difference in interest rates.
Sure.
And, my thoughts, which we get a little off here in terms of myth busting, but at this point, rates are the lowest they've been in the last 12 months. Home prices are continuing to rise here, again, locally and national. Maybe it's a different story, and some markets are a different story,
Sure.
but the pace of growth has slowed down slightly. But even this year, values are rising. Sure. And so the way I see it over the next 4 or 5 months, once we get to spring, if these trends continue, we're going to be looking at potentially some rates in the 5s, which are already happening for some borrowers, but a more steady rate in the 5, which at what point millions of buyers are going to be entering the market, and it's going to cause prices to raise. And so I'm not predicting some frenzy per se next spring.
We can't predict.
But right now, if it does align with your goals going into the fall, everything is slowed up a little bit. There's a lot of value out there for buyers. And like I said, I wouldn't get so much hung up on what the number of the rate is, but more so how it aligns with you and your goals.
Absolutely. And those goals can also also include your budget. So if it's in your budget, then once again, don't worry so much about what the rate is right now. Get out there and start house hunting.
Well, guys, I think that pretty much summarizes it. Unless, Andre, if you have anything you'd like to add or any thoughts, questions for me?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered everything. I think it's time to get out there and turn your home ownership into reality.
See you next time. Thank y'all.